Like and subscribe. Pretty please. What made you lose interest in a person you had a crush on? She littered. It was supposed to be a nice walk in the park. We got Subway, and she threw the wrapper and napkins in a garden. I picked it up and threw it out myself after she called me weird and walked away. People who litter just because there's someone who will pick it up are the worst. It's shameful when people don't want to maintain basic hygiene and decency. I'm a janitor at my local movie theater and constantly have to pick up stuff left behind by guests who refuse to use the multiple trash cans literally on the way out of the theater, like, you brought it in, why can't you throw it out? Then I've had several people I know tell me they do it because people like me get paid to pick the trash up. I will also get paid to clean up a pile of shit in the middle of the lobby if you decide to take a dump there, but that doesn't make it alright. She took a cat she had adopted and allowed it to run away because it had become noisy at night. I knew she allowed him to run away because a day later he came back smelling of the outside and meowing at her door. I took him in, washed him in the bathroom, and she kept sarcastically saying, "That's your cat now." Yay, he is. And I still have him, and he's still annoying and loud, but I love him anyway. It's the ugliest sort of person who selfishly adopts a cat while depressed and then tries to rid themselves of this life they took responsibility for. I adopted a cat a few months ago. She's loud, clingy, and sometimes annoying. I wouldn't trade her for the world. I found her on Tinder while her fiance was deployed in the Navy. I was on a date with a girl. We were taking a little walk. The weather was quite cold, so she was wearing a big coat. She took her hands out of her pockets. Her hands were full of tissues, scraps of paper, candy wrappers, and she just dumped it all on the floor. We were a couple of meters away from a bin. I pretty much went straight home. Throw litter on the floor, I will see you to the door. She was a bad parent to her kids. Kids tend to ruin crushes, to begin with for me, not just because I don't want them, but because what if you start dating this person and get close to those kids and then break up? You don't get visitation rights. And that is precisely why I choose to stay single as a parent. As an introvert, I don't even feel lonely. My kids fill my social quota and often exceed it as well. We got into an argument during my freshman year while we were in the talking phase, and then she screamed at me in the hallway. Ouch. He asked to borrow my hardback of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was my favorite of the series, and I happily lended it to him. 6 months later, he finally returned it. The dust jacket was torn, the corners were dented, and the spine was broken. That book had been in pristine condition, and I nearly cried that he took such little care of it. My 6th grade nether regions were turned to dust. Screw you, Trevor, you book ruining barbarian. I remember when I first started reading long books, I would have the page slightly bent and it would actually create like a crack in the cover. After that happened, I became extremely paranoid about bending book covers. I hate hardcovers as well, so this is my only option. She wasn't interested in me that way. Lack of interest from the other person is kind of a deal breaker for me. This is why I never get the griping about being friend-zoned. If she doesn't like you, stop trying to win her heart and go find yourself a girl who appreciates you for you. Throughout college, I asked out 3 different guys. If it matters, I'm a woman, and all 3 of them simply told me they just liked me as friends. I liked them because they were my friend, but because their reasoning was solid. After the awkward period of rejection, I was able to keep talking to them like normal afterwards because I wanted to continue being in their company, but I also knew it wasn't worth me trying to change his mind. Speaking from experience, the people who have an issue with being friend-zoned are the ones who have low self-esteem and place women as a whole on a pedestal. I noticed he was an attention seeker. I heard the same cool stories he told me when I first met him that drew me in again and again, and realized he was egotistical. Basically, if you say you've climbed a mountain, he would interrupt to say he's climbed a bigger one that was more dangerous. I realized she was mean. About 4 years ago, I moved in next door to a beautiful woman. She was fun, and we got along great. We started doing activities together. We hiked, we worked out, we watched movies. Then one day, we went to a fast food drive-thru, and she completely berated the workers for no good reason. I was mortified. Then, as we were driving away, she said, "They're the stupidest people. They never listen." Then I said, "You know, they probably spit in your food, right?" She gave me a thanks a lot look. My crush ended that day. There's just something different about that kind of mean. I'm working on it, but I have a terrible mean streak. But I've never yelled at a service worker in my whole life. I don't even understand it. It's not even mean, it's like an instinct to social climb almost. I can't wrap my head around it. He told me that he wanted me to sleep with other people and tell him about it, and that he stood on the edge of a bridge all night long, debating on jumping, because he didn't think he could make me happy enough. Damn, he must have had a serious inferiority complex. He has a lot of mental health issues, and I tried hard to be accepting and helpful, but at the end of the day, it proved to be more than I could handle. You're a very good person for trying. Finding out she had a boyfriend and a dude on the side. When I was in HS, there was a guy, Charlie, who was handsome, and lots of girls had crushes on him, including me. If you didn't know him well, he seemed like a quiet, unassuming guy. We ended up joining the same extracurricular club. I was on the shy side in HS, so I didn't talk to him directly, much other than for stuff regarding the club. Well, one day, he was working on a club-related project, and he was with some of the other guys in the club. They were talking as they worked. I was around the corner from them, working on something else by myself. They didn't know I was there, but I could hear every word they said. Long story short, one of the guys told Charlie that Ella, another member, had a crush on Charlie and wanted to go out with him. She wasn't the most gorgeous girl in school or the most popular, but she was very sweet and well liked. When Charlie found this out, he scoffed and said, "To think that I'd ever go on a date with someone like her. I'd definitely be dating down. She's nothing." He said it with such a nastiness and disdain that any appeal he had to me shriveled up immediately, and I never looked at him the same again. Listen, I get that he may not have been attracted to Ella and didn't want to date her, but there was no reason to be such a nasty dick about it. He could have just laughed it off and changed the subject, but he didn't. Maybe it was to impress his friends in some strange way, or maybe he really was that much of an asshole. I'll never know. Regardless, that spoke to his character, and not in a good way. In 7th grade, I brought her a slice of cheesecake at lunch for Valentine's Day, and she laughed at me in front of her friends and wouldn't even take it. I was socially awkward at the time, but damn, that fucked me up. In elementary school, I bought a cheapo ring from the school bookstore and tried to give it to my crush. I gave it to her a few days later, and she tried to stomp on it and destroy it. Must have been made out of vibranium, because that little plastic ring didn't even crack. Took it back and gave it to my mom instead, when he and his friend told a 5-year-old to jump off a cliff. That was fucked up. Beautiful to look at, but boring to know. I've come across a lot of those in my life, and conversely, there are people who become a whole lot more attractive once you get to know them better. I got a promotion at work, he got butt-hurt and then stabbed me in the back. He was given a part of the promotion that I was given, not even half of the responsibilities. When I realized that he was a wease, but also not good at being a weasel, he wasn't sexy anymore. He kept talking about other girls, as if I was supposed to compete for his interest and constantly have to prove myself. Too lazy to figure me out for yourself? I'm not good enough for you? Cool. Bye. Your loss. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.